Hey YouTubers, along the order of these homemade motorized bikes, I want to show you a couple different choices on clutch stuff that I got. I got one that a guy at GE had made kind of like a government job. He did it on the clock. And a couple other choices. You don't really have to spend for a brand new clutch if you don't feel like it all the time. So I'll show you what I got here. Let's see. This one, it's self-explanatory. It's got a bearing surface, and two walls come together. It's off a rototiller. The two walls come together by way of this throwout fork. You got a fork that bumps up against them shiny spots and pushes the walls together and makes it squirt the belt out to the outer edge and grab. Then when you want to go to neutral, you let off on your fork, which could just be a couple pieces of any kind of rounded rod. You know, you make a U-shaped rod, rounded a little bit to give it you know, a graceful swoop, you might say. And the keyway keeps the half locked to your crankshaft, and the other wall comes in on that inner spline, so that would be a darn good clutch. Someday I'll use it on one of these bikes. And I keep all the bushings for the max torque clutches. This was off a two-stroke Tecumseh clutch, and I found this pulley that will fit by way of this bushing on there. That was just sort of thinking ahead. Someday I could use that, although it would have to be on a select application with a little half-inch shaft, like one of them tiny Briggs & Stratton 5S motors or something. The third one my buddy Daniel gave me, it ain't much to speak of. It's off a rototiller. It's a cone clutch. It's got a throwout bearing quite similar to that first one I showed you, but it pushes this cone up into that cone, and I just kept it mainly for the bearing because somebody had already rigged it. They'd rolled or drove a pin in it, made it solid. Obviously it was slipping. They didn't want to fix it right, so they took an even cheaper shot than I'm guilty of taking. Didn't think that was possible. But the Mac Daddy of them all, let's see what this one is. This wasn't even really a clutch. It's a friction breakaway, opposite of a centrifugal clutch. It was on a table saw. It's locked down all the time, but if you get in a bind, it'll slip out. It'll slip rather than throw the piece that you're cutting and get you hurt. But it would be real easy to just change the springs that push out and hook a couple springs to pull inward, where centrifugal force throws them out. That's definitely going to get converted someday. I have to smooth up that one little chipped place, but that's no big deal. A rat tail file or a good file will take care of it. But here's the primo daddy. A guy at General Electric fudged this through on company time. I mean, he was a fanatic, and it's been years. The guy that sold to me said when he was a kid, they used it on a go-kart. It's got a bearing in the drum part, so it can sit still for as long as you want to let it sit, and it's not going to eat up a bushing like a regular old mini bike clutch. When I was a kid, the main thing people had trouble with is they'd wear them bushings out because they wouldn't think to put a drop of oil on them every day or so. Well, this cures having to think of anything. But he used countersunk bolts. I mean, it's just fanatical. And on the friction part, it's just, I mean, this is somebody that was a good machinist. Those are slugs of some kind of fiber. I don't know what he made his fibers out of, but it's all home job welded up. Very good job. You can see the springs that hold the shoes inward. You can see the thing that keeps the shoes from scooting out of place. That goes up on the crankshaft by way of a key. Those shoes sling out and grab this drum, which is on with tapered head bolts with bearings and a V-belt. I've been saving that for a really good bike someday. I kind of get greedy on what I want to use. On an old rough one, I'll use a store-bought clutch or whatever I can find. But that one looks like a keeper. Anyway, I get like a kid when I get full of this stuff. It takes me back to my younger days. And I hoard this stuff, but at the same time, I've got enough sense to realize I'm not going to be able to use all this, and I'll fix friends up with stuff if they need it. But all this and 22 of those motorized bikes and some other kind of cute videos of me feeding squirrels. And not everybody gets into that, but I sure do. And a bunch of antique motors are on John Wade on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'm having fun. Bye-bye.